Welcome to the Be That Healing Girl podcast. And I am so excited for this episode, no joke, because I have been wanting to do this type of format and I finally have found the best way to do it. And we're going to go answer some questions around your situation. We're going to do some situation room. We're going to open the mailbox. And I honestly love how this has truly happened for me. I used to read these newspaper articles back in the day where the columnist would answer a question and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to do this with my community. Now, the situations and the questions that I'm going to be answering today and on the podcast moving forward, these are questions for women that are in my community in the Healing Girl gang. And I'll put the link below so you can look at what is all entailed in being in the community and being in the membership. And what I'm really excited about is that this is so near and dear to my heart. I have been working so diligently on creating a way that is super accessible for you to start healing your anxious attachment. And this whole membership is set up where we walk you through step by step in each and every month with a training. And depending on the level that you're in the membership, there are tangible action steps, like the actual ways that you can heal your anxious attachment depending on what level you're in. And I'm really excited about it. And I want to dive into these questions so that we can get some questions answered. And also, if you're just new here, my name is Claire. I'm a relationship coach. I love helping high achieving girlies who are crushing their careers, but they're crashing in their love lives. And this is what I do is help women who overthink, have relationship anxiety and anxious attachment, you cannot get out of your head. Maybe you're self-sabotaging. In fact, you probably know that you're self-sabotaging and you want it to stop because you might be pushing a good one away. So yeah, and if you are enjoying this podcast or any of the other episodes, leaving a 5-star review is so deeply appreciated. Like literally, I can tell that you are being impacted but every time I see a review. So thank you for doing that. And let's dive in. So I don't want to maybe I'll just say the first name, but this is from Beatrice. And her question is, I guess what I want to ask if how you do know if you are making a right or wrong decision towards your relationship, because it is like I'm going back and forth in my head about being in a relationship, being single, got some breakup urges, but my partner is super amazing, great, and caring. I don't really know what I want and what I should listen to from inside myself, which part. It is insanely confusing. So I love this question. And I also love it because one of the trainings that's coming up in September in overanalyzing, we're gonna look even deeper into this in the Healing Girl Gang in the membership. And I think, when I answer these, by the way, PS, and this is like how I operate the podcast now, is I just kind of like download, I black out. I don't know how I answer it. But there's something that's jumping out to me immediately when I read this question. And am I making a right or a wrong decision? And this just takes me back to a very pivotal time in my life where I was living in Virginia. I'm born and raised in Virginia. I'm a beach girl, Virginia Beach. And I moved all the way to Denver for a boy. Of course I did. But there's something here in this question that immediately takes me back to some really great advice that I got from one of my mentors. And I was hemming and hawing around, should I move to Denver? Like, I don't know. I'm leaving my home state, my hometown, and like what's going to happen? And this mentor looked at me and she basically said, you can't, with a decision like this, there are no right and wrong decisions. And she proceeded to tell me how, like, no matter what, if I move to Denver and I don't like it, could always come back. That was the truth. And I just remember just feeling so scared. I drove cross country and I was like looking at all the logistics. I did not have the money really to be doing that. But I made it work, as we do, and we're clear in our intention. And I can't tell you how true that is. And one thing that I've learned is that there are no such thing as a right or wrong decision. And when we make decisions, we have to put our energy in making it right, to making the decision right. And this is a perfect example of how perfectionism and overanalyzing is really problematic, because when we see our world and our viewpoint or perspective is based on right and wrong, then we are just going to have a really hard time, because life is not black and white. It is not absolutes. It's not always or never. It's an area of gray. And so I'll also just say this about my own relationships. And I've mentioned this before, but I have met the one multiple times. It's just true. Like, and I would say this to Craig's face, my husband. I'd say it to his face. I mean, he is the one, and not because he is perfect and he is amazing, which he is amazing, and he freaking is my person, but because I wake up every day and I choose to make him the right person for me. Because the reality is he's not perfect, and honey, neither am I. So it's not about right or wrong decisions, because if you're operating from that energy, and when I say energy, the thoughts and the feelings that are informing your perspective on seeing relationship as right or wrong, it's going to be disappointing, right? No matter what, and you're going to waste all this time and energy in trying to make the right decision, when we just get to put our energy into making our decisions right. And ask anybody who is in a healthy marriage, it is hard. And that's what we're talking about. Like, it's about, if you're in a commitment and they're a good person, like you're telling me here, then it's about making the decision right. Because if we have perfectionist tendencies, we will pick apart what is not right, and we will use that to disconnect from connection. So just something to think about, and sending you lots of love. The next person is Desiree. Her question is, why isn't all the right things working? And that's in quotations. I have my own life. I have my own career, my own child, hobbies, things I love, yoga, pets, church, and strong faith, classes, MBA in progress, strong friendships, and a wonderful supportive family. That's a lot. Love that for you. My life is so full, but I can't seem to get out of this codependency. I'm pushing away my wonderful man because of my constant fear and need for reassurance. Every decision he makes, I take so personally. I mean, gosh, there's just so many things in this statement that I'd love to get into, and I'm going to pick one thing. I also just want to say, if you're listening to this, or you are taking in the coaching and the recommendations I'm doing, I don't have the whole context. Okay. This is like, I should have started with this. I don't have the whole context of everything that's going on. And 3 sentences that tell me about your life, I'm doing that in quotations, it's not the full picture. So I'm just saying that, so you're understanding that when I give this coaching here, I don't see the whole picture. I'm only giving tiny perspective on what you're giving me. I'm going to just start with the last sentence. Every decision he makes, I take so personally. And the thing that I'm feeling is just like a little tough love around, it's not about you sometimes. I say that with respect, and I love you, but sometimes it's just not about you. And I'm just going to guess, because this whole sentence here that I'm reading, with my career, my own child, hobbies, things I love, pets, church, strong faith, MBA class. I mean, you have got a lot going on. And so there is just a clear connection I see all the time with my particular clients and in my community, that there's a lot of pressure on what you do and your value based on what you do, right? So if I'm just going to guess, so out of all those things, there's a lot of value that you place on what you do in a relationship. And that's problematic, because if you only value your doingness, then of course in relationship, if you are taking this personally, it's because you think you're doing something wrong, and there's something wrong with you, and that's the problem. It's not it's really this impulse that I'm doing something wrong, that is based on the belief system and the thoughts and the feelings that you have, that your doingness is important. And everything that I teach is based on who you're being, not what you're doing. And if you are an overachiever and your safety, love, and connection was praised, and you got love and safety and connection from what you do, learning how to be in a relationship is a totally different way of operating. It's like learning manual when you've only driven automatic. Literally. I mean, that I cannot believe I just came up with that analogy, because it's exactly like that. You're learning a different way of operating. And PS, if you've only driven automatic, and you switch to learning manual, you are going to be all, if you're watching YouTube, you're going to be all over the place, honey. And there's something wrong with that. But you do have to learn a different way to operate. And I'm going to guess it's probably a little different learning it at, spry age of 35 than it is at 15. It's just different. So I would look at and examine why you take things personally with a lot of love. Okay, let's do one more. So Michelle asks, I'm struggling to find hobbies that bring me joy. I totally see how I lose myself in relationships and I always end up feeling so broken when they end. I also realize the love I grow for people in such attached relationships never lasts because I end up not knowing who I am without them. Gosh, I really resonate with that. However, I literally can't find hobbies that keep my attention long enough to last for me. Also, everything is so dang expensive these days. How can I make sure not to lose myself, learn to love them, and accept their love without forgetting who I am? And I can't even find hobbies to keep my mind occupied. Okay. So, you know, I'll just say this for myself when I would have this narrative, I can't find anything. Well, I just want to invite you to what is your end goal with them? Because a lot of times we are not finding something that's not filling us with joy. It's because we have an expectation of what the outcome is supposed to be. And I can feel it right now. The resonance that's going to happen with this. Are you going into hobbies for the pleasure of it? And the like, wow, is this fun and exciting? And instead of, so here's an example. If you're doing pottery because you want to make perfect pottery, you are missing the point. Just straight up, right? And I know this because, hello, I had the same problem with hobbies. And like, in fact, I would not even try the hobby. I'd buy yarn and like not pick it up because I'd have this pressure and this idea that I'm going to have this like beautiful, fluffy blanket. And I couldn't even get started because I had so much pressure on the outcome of the hobby. And this I know this seems so simple, but this is such a bigger thing, and so much of my teaching is about the root of the problem. I'm curious for you, and just really check in with yourself. Are you orienting to get a certain outcome from the hobby, or are you truly doing it to be present, to play? I'm going to say that word again, to play and to explore. Now, one thing, a hobby that I've picked up again recently is reading. And when I was still really working through my perfectionism and this high drive and success, I would try to read books that I was like, oh, this is for pleasure, but really I was trying to personally grow and learn more about personal development. And those books I'd pick them up, I'd read a chapter or two, and then I would be so bored out of my mind. So my new hobby that I freaking love, like I just want to get off this podcast right now and read my books, is read. I read. I am way neck deep, and if you know, you know, I am way deep. Well, I actually just finished my last Sarah J. Maas novels. It's like basically the first my entry drug was into like the fairies doing it. That's like a crude way of saying it, but fantasy. And I mean, gosh, the last 6 or 7, 8 months of me reading these novels, I've had the best time because it's so entertaining and it's like candy for the brain, and I love it. And now I recognize, this is just total transparency, I was trying to read to get an outcome. I was reading these self-help books or reading whatever, and I just like, even right now, I just want to like roll my eyes at myself because it wasn't pleasurable. So ask yourself this, is it really the hobby, or are you going into it because you have an expectation? So just some thought, just a little nugget I want to throw out there. So, and again, there's more context and there's more dialogue with this that we get opportunities in the Healing Girl Gang. And I honestly have loved doing this. I can't wait to be doing this more often. And I hope you are listening to this particular episode and hearing what you need to hear, even though I'm answering a very specific person's question, right? This is truly one of the best ways to learn and to change is to glean what you can from the answers that are here. All right, angels, I love you so much. Mwah.